All right, I ain't got much to talk about in this last section, but the Manosphere must be stopped. And for those of y'all don't know what the Manosphere is, it's an umbrella term for a loosely connected network of online communities focused on men, masculinity, dating, and gender politics. It's not one group, it's a spectrum that ranges from helpful to extremely toxic. And when I say it must be stopped, I mean the extremely toxic parts of the Manosphere must be stopped. And that's because there is no one size fits all way of how to be a man. There should be universal truths in being a man, but a lot of these Manosphere podcasts focus on blaming women. There's a lot of these Manosphere podcasts approach the subject of masculinity with any thought out logics, facts, or research. It's just a bunch of dudes expressing emotions, with the exception of Scott Galloway. Like, I will say, I'm in the midst of reading his book right now, and I would say it's a well thought out book explaining masculinity and how men should act. I agree with a lot of it. I do feel like a lot of his book is not for black men. And there's an acknowledgement of that from Scott Galloway, right? He'll tell you in the introduction about his upbringing and how his situation was only uniquely possible by luck and being born in California and being born as a white man in California. So there is an acknowledgement of that, but a lot of these Manosphere guys don't acknowledge that there's different starting points for, different groups in America. The starting places for black men and white men are a little bit different, and we have to maneuver a little bit differently in all spaces based on race. So it's kind of like a undercurrent of denial of lived experiences in most Manosphere podcasts, but overall, I love Scott Galloway's book. But with the exception of him, most of this stuff is just dudes complaining, man. Like, dudes giving reasons why they can be mediocre. And I don't like it. A lot of these podcasts are centered around dudes being lonely. Like, dudes being lonely and trying to get women and trying to be around women, but not acknowledging their own flaws. God rest my father's soul. But one thing he instilled in me is a closed mouth don't get fed, and you better go ask for what you want, and you better go approach that woman, because the worst she can say is no. That was his saying, man. Like, the worst she can say is no. He instilled in me, if I'm not courting or getting a woman's attention and courting a woman's attention, that's a me problem. Like, a lot of these dudes now are so entitled to think just because they got a penis, women should talk to them. And that's not how it worked historically, man. Dudes will use these excuses about, hey, women only want guys with money. And I'm going to call you a lie, man, because I can point out a bunch of women with a bunch of nothing-ass dudes who doing nothing. Now, how long it lasts, that's a different story. But all these excuses, I can show you legit counterpoints. You're saying women only like handsome guys? I know some objectively ugly dudes with beautiful women. You not having a woman's attention is a you problem as a man. Historically, men have always courted women's attention. And you got to adjust. But guys are lazy now. They're lazy. They don't want to adjust. They don't want to do anything but blame women. They blame women's suffrage. Oh, man, women are not traditional. We're not living in a traditional world. 50 years ago, man, I could beat my wife. 50 years ago, women couldn't have bank accounts. So you're trying to live a traditional lifestyle, you've lost. But these Manosphere podcasts making you guys think that, hey, man, it's not my fault. And I'm here to tell you, man, you're not special. You're not special. And my podcast will probably never blow up because I'm not out here trying to sensationalize shit. I'm just telling the truth. A lot of you dudes are lazy, can't communicate, ain't trying, and looking for an excuse to suck. And when you get no play, you get no burn, you get angry and want to shoot up the place. Dude, I'm 5'7.5", 5'8" on a good day. Ain't the best looking guy, but I'm far from ugly. I hang around like beautiful people, legit beautiful people, models, actors. I don't give a fuck, bro. I'm still going for mine. You think I care? Give a damn, dude, who's in the room? I'm going to shoot my shot at anybody. If I want to pursue somebody's attention, I'm going to shoot my shot. And guess what? I'm prepared to hear no. Because once again, the great Nolan Johnson Sr. instilled in me, hey, man, she may say no. If she does, guess what? Move on. I don't think I'm entitled to a woman's attention. I really don't. There's a lot of problems with being a man, but I think that one of the underlying toxic traits of masculinity is not being emotionally present and not addressing your emotions and finding the root of your emotions. And therapy is a good tool, but therapy only works if you're receiving and working on yourself after the therapy. I do therapy. I do. And after my sessions, man, I go to work in those breakthroughs I have. So if you're not doing the work outside of therapy, man, therapy is just, a lemon squeeze. Folks talking. Just looking for people to blame for your problems. My last podcast was with Minister Johnny Moore. And he was talking about men's health issues. And he wrote a book called Anchored. And it's a 30-day devotional. And I read that book and I'm like, yo, we need more of this. Not Manosphere shit, but more of this. More books that are telling you to take accountability for your actions and showing you how to be a better person, right? And I can say the same thing about Scott Galloway's book, Notes About Being a Man, that I can say about Johnny L. Moore's book, Anchored, right? Finding faith in your struggles. Along the same lines. But if you're a man and you're having struggles, just know you're not alone. We all having those. And we should normalize talking about our struggles. But you're going to have to do the work from within and not looking for excuses. One of the tenets of being a man and masculinity is enduring, finding a way out of no way, making a plan and coming out of it. You guys want to be leaders. You got to lead. Sometimes you're going to fail. It's about getting your ass back up. And you're not going to learn those from most of these Manosphere podcasts. They're telling you you're perfect and everybody else is to blame. Anyway, that's the Common Knowledge Podcast, updated weekly. Thank you guys for rocking with me. Check out my previous podcasts. Like, share, review, give me comments. I love those, whether you agree or disagree with me. I appreciate that. Y'all be safe. Peace.